Hello and welcome to the Horror House Podcast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Chris. We are two dudes that like to talk about horror from movies to real life. This week in the Horror House, we're doing a little catching up on what we've been watching outside of the regular show, the usual show. Some stuff we've been watching in our free time. Dave, have anything to say before we get right into it?
I love these episodes because we get to talk about so many varied things. And so why delay? Let's jump into it.
All right. I guess first, just to kind of start us off, we're going to have a quick, kind of spoiler-free, our thoughts on Evil Dead Rise, which is now a couple weeks into its digital release. But I don't think we've really talked about it on the show, so we might as well get a little bit of something before we eventually do an episode on it. So let's do that, Dave. You said you've watched it a couple times.
I have watched it a couple times. We did go to the theaters and watch it, and then we bought it as soon as we could on streaming. And it follows in the tradition of the 2013 Evil Dead, in that it is a horror movie. It is not a horror comedy.
I didn't know you was going that way. Continue.
I don't know which way you thought I was going.
Just that it's a horror movie, like cut and dry. Like it is a horror movie. Like it is a movie. Anyways.
It is more than just a movie. This is a good movie, Chris. The open is fantastic, and we knew we were going to get something a little different, taking the Evil Dead out of the cabin in the woods setting, but it still maintains that feeling of isolation pretty well. It is, I think you and I have maybe some differences of opinions about what we think of the characters. I like the characters. I don't know that there's a one I don't like. I don't think we disagree too much on the character. I was fine with the characters. I was surprised at some of what they decided to do with some of them, if I can be so broad to state, but true.
I generally liked most of the characters. I think maybe all of them. Not as much really, as my girl Mia.
You really painted me in a corner here when you say a spoiler-free episode. We'll stick to that. There is some surprises to me. I was very worried, and I got more and more worried as we got closer to release. And I think I had told you that I was kind of getting worried that there was too much in the trailers, and that there wouldn't be any surprises or anything good in the movie that I hadn't seen or alluded to in the trailers. And that wasn't quite the case. I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's a cheese grater in the movie, and I was a little let down by the way it was, because I expected so much more.
Yeah, I was that was my big letdown. Was it's social media's fault, because I kept reading about it, and I knew I shouldn't expect something too great, but like some people are really raising a particular kitchen appliance up on a new pedestal that I don't know that I agree with.
I think it's the same people that are probably still licking Skinamarink balls, are going off about the cheese grater still. I mean, come on. Calm your tits, Sarah. But I liked what they did. It kept the spirit. There were enough fallbacks, but still newness. Now there were a couple times that maybe the callback was a little forced.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely give this an A grade. Like I said, I have seen it several times. It is um, quickly become a comfort movie to us. And please don't tell my therapist that. When I say our comfort movies are this and Doctor Sleep and
yes, Mr. Dave. So I'm seeing here gore and mutilation or what bring you comfort. I've called a special service to come get you.
the men in white suits are picking me up. Hey, I'm not going to sleep watching Baskin or Martyrs. So it could be worse.
Yeah. But when you mention that you have seen them, that may be part of your record as well. So
it came recommended from the Baskin guy.
Yeah. I have a little bit I didn't like it as much as you did. I don't think I liked it as much as a lot of people did. My wife I mean, she likes Evil Dead, but I wouldn't say it's one of her favorite franchises, but she really liked this one. And I was kind of surprised because at the end of it, like she was like, I can't believe this or that, and was talking about it. And meanwhile, I'm just like listening and just nodding. I'm like, mm-hmm. And I did not quite feel that way. To me, it felt like I could see where it was going to not be, where it was going to be a straight to video movie. I felt like that was kind of visible to me. And I don't know if I've seen people talk about that too much, but there was just some kind of quality that it just, maybe it's the way it's shot, maybe kind of like Hellraiser. Remember how I kind of complained about some of the shots on Hellraiser, like felt like it wouldn't have looked this way if it was in the theater. It'd have been more open, and it's something, I don't know, something about it just, I mean, I say it's
purposeful, though. I mean, like I said, there's a sense of isolation and claustrophobia to it. I
don't agree.
But yeah, I was really shocked. when the Deadites took Corey under their belt and kind of taught him how to kill. That kind of slowed the movie down.
And then he kicked their asses and was...
Yeah.
David Gordon Green used to fuck
I'll do it myself.
Or when he's the extended moped scene where there's the Deadites holding on to him as he's driving the moped and like nuzzling up against his neck. Is it nuzzling? Is that the right word? That's
yeah. That seemed like a good nuzzle.
But yeah,
you know how frisky Deadites get. So
I think this is my least favorite Evil Dead, which ain't a bad thing. But it just don't hit for me as hard as you.
To be honest, I think the first one is my least favorite.
I don't think I can go. I don't think I can take it there yet.
But I have to separate 2 and 3 from 2013 and Rise.
I will say I like.
Tones are so different.
I do like it more than the TV show, which I still have not been able to get into. There's something about it that just rubs me the wrong way. It just doesn't get its hooks in me for some reason. So it's better than that for me. Because I did finish it.
I like the TV show, but I must agree with you on some level because I don't think I've ever made it past like the 4th episode, I've tried to get into it like 3 different times.
Same. I don't know what it is. Fair enough. It's not my least favorite Evil Dead thing. The TV show is. There may be people that hunt us down, like all 12 of them. That, hey, I'm sorry you got canceled, but it's not our fault. It is not our fault.
It's just an opinion. Just an opinion. Maybe if they had brought Fez into the TV show at some point, and then it'd be better.
You know.
Wait, that did not work for Dusk Till Dawn. Okay, never mind.
Was he in that? I didn't know where he was going.
The Dusk Till Dawn TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a total vampire badass.
Oh, fuck. I think I actually remember my wife watching that and seeing him. No. Okay. But there's some quick thoughts on Evil Dead Rise. Anything else you want to say on it before we switch to what we'll do a little back and forth and
No, I think I'm good on the Evil Dead Rise. I recommend it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I don't recommend it because I feel like I am like an odd man out. Definitely go watch it. Because it's
Right.
Evil Dead, man. You don't get one of those every year. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah. Although they're already talking about doing something else, doing another one, and I have some theories in this spoil-free episode. It's hard to bring those out, so yeah, watch it to keep up, so you know where we're heading in the future. But
There
we
you have it.
can move on. Chris, what else have you watched fairly recently?
So I told you about it vaguely and mentioned video violence from 1987. This shot on video, not straight to video, shot on video. Real shitty looking. I would say overall it's just a kind of a shitty movie. And I knew when I was clicking on it on whatever streaming service I was watching that it was going to be shot on video, was going to be kind of shitty, but for some reason it has this weird charm to it. And I watched the whole fucking thing.
Oh, nice.
And enjoyed it. It's so weird because usually like this shot on video stuff from like the 80s just looks so bad. The audio is bad. Audio's bad here. But there's just some weird charm to it, and I liked it. It's just this low budget shitty movie. And effects are oddly decent. But it's got some weird stuff in it. Maybe give it a shot. There is some kind of weird shit here and there. It was 87. Got to give it a break. But I was entertained until the end. I really can't believe that I was, but I was. And there's a sequel, so I have that to look forward to someday.
Great. I'll have to check that out.
It's based on a rental store. I'll give you the quick premise. A rental store, right? In this town, this new owner of this rental store, this VHS rental store, they get a VHS, and it turns out to be somebody's collection. It wasn't their tape, and it's like a real snuff film. And they're like, oh my God. And then it kind of devolves from there into just weird shit. So yeah, there you go. VHS making a comeback. Go check this out. It's streaming somewhere. I forget where I watched it. Tubi? Probably Tubi.
I do like the Tubi. Hashtag not a sponsor, and it's free. So,
but still, use coupon code HorrorHouse 2 on your next Tubi purchase. Helps somebody out. Probably not us, but maybe one day.
Probably, yeah. Probably Satan.
What about you? What have you been using with your eyeballs? Well, I don't know what accent.
Jackie and I were watching some trailers the other day, and we stumbled across the trailer for The Black Demon and for Meg 2, which is not out yet. And Meg 2, it looks ridiculous. The trailer for Meg 2 looks like, oh, you got one big shark? Well, we got 3 big sharks and an octopus. And
there's an octopus?
And a giant fucking octopus.
Okay.
And at one point, the like a kraken almost. At one point, this shark, this megalodon that has already looked like in the trailer it ate a yacht, is trying to eat Jason Statham, but he's able to fend it off by putting his foot on its upper lip and pushing it away from him so it can't bite him, which fucking ridiculous.
It's already ate a boat, and Jason Statham's thighs are too strong.
He's just like, holding it off with one foot.
Oh my God.
So that's the ridiculously it looks like, and the trailer still looked better than Black Demon, but this past weekend, Stella wanted to watch something. It has recently come out on streaming, and so we watched it. Always beware of this. You got to be aware, but maybe not beware, but you have to be aware of straight to streaming options.
Right.
But Stella bought it, especially when it debuts at less than $15 on streaming. Then
Really? Wow.
It it was pretty bad. It was pretty poorly acted. The effects were pretty bad. There
Ian
were some
Ziering?
things in it that make no sense. No Ian Ziering.
Okay.
But you do have Josh Lucas, who is
Josh Lucas.
I'm not saying he is. I'm saying it's possible he is the love child of Ian Ziering and Scott Speed.
Scott Speedman?
Scott Speedman and Ian Ziering have had a love child, and his name is Josh Lucas.
Checks out. That checks out.
So, yeah,
not recommend.
To be fair, I missed some things that were going on in the middle of the movie because I might have been playing some Sudoku on the phone, so that's how how well it was able to keep my attention.
Okay.
Everybody just seems very one-dimensional. It was
good effects.
Pretty obvious to me from the start, like where it was going, and just it's not
any gore.
Not great. A little, some little bits. Body bits floating in the water stuff.
No cheese grater.
Nothing great. No. No, instead of a cheese grater, the shark has a vegetable peeler, and so it's if you can find it for free somewhere, let's see if there's another option before you watch it.
All right, fair enough.
Or if you're just like determined, I love shark movies so much, I'm gonna watch every fucking shark movie. There you go. It is a shark movie.
Only for completionists. Should seek this out.
You should get a PlayStation trophy for watching that thing.
I used to think that should be a thing
trophy too.
Back in the Xbox 360 days. I'm like, why isn't there achievements for Netflix? Like, I just watched all of The Office. How comes I don't get achievements for this? But
yeah, I would have racked some up because I binge watched the entire every episode of Community within like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So. Speaking of Community, my next movie has nothing to do with it, but I gave myself a moment to try to figure something out. I couldn't do it. Have you ever heard of Larry Fessenden?
Larry Fessenden.
I'm not sure the exact pronunciation, something like that. If you look at him, you may recognize him as kind of a bit player here and there. But he's directed a handful of kind of lowery budget kind of horror of his own. He had this movie, 1991, called No Telling.
Oh yeah, he's got a gigantic forehead. Like the top of his head is too big for the bottom of his head.
But he directed a indie movie called No Telling back in 1991. I saw it on IFC early 90s, mid 90s. And it's one of the movies I kind of remembered parts of. But years later, when I was thinking about it, I could never find it again. I didn't know what it was called. So you search in these sites that are like, we can find any movie you're looking for. And it is like, did you want Frankenstein? And I'm like, no, it's like Frankenstein. It's not Frankenstein. So it took a while to find it. I have another movie also coming up a little bit later. Same story, but worse than this. Just so hard to find what the fuck it was with what little details I remembered. But it does have a little bit of a Frankenstein kind of a thing. With a crazy scientist moves his wife out to the country. He's doing some kind of experimentation on animals that he isn't telling his wife. He's just catching in traps rather than getting from.
Is it a prequel to Guardians of the Galaxy? Does he develop Rocket Raccoon?
It could be. I mean, if you in the Daviverse, it absolutely ought to be. But ends with a kind of a little crazy little visual. Not great effects, but not the worst you've ever seen. And not a lot of it. It's more of a drama kind of a thing than an actual horror movie. But when it pops the horror out, I mean, it's kind of shocking. So it works in that regard. It's almost, I would liken it to if A24 had existed in 1991, this is what they would have released.
Okay.
It's a very slow burn. But I kind of like it. It didn't quite stick the landing that I think it could have, but not a bad flick. Something different. If you want to check that out, after you watch, what'd you call it?
The black demon.
The Black Demon.
The black eye on shark movies.
Follow that up with a little no telling and video violence.
Just skip straight to no telling. Or see if there's a cartoon on. Okay. Tubi has the Toxic Avenger cartoons.
Really? Oh, shit.
Tubi or Screenbox? No, it's not Tubi. It's Screenbox.
Oh, sorry. Okay. That's fucking cool. Toxic Crusader.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got next? What else have you been watching?
Well, I rewatched. This was not a fresh watch, but I don't think I'd actually watched it since it first came out 2 years ago, when it kind of became a little phenomena of its own, Malignant. And
Malignant.
With the girl has the reabsorbed twin living in the back of her skull. Like
Is that the one where she's in prison towards the end, and it's like this whole, or she's not in prison, but like in a jail cell? Okay.
She's in the jail cell, and yes.
Okay. I remember.
There is some, it's a little crazy over the top to just think that, okay, this, if it take over her brain, that's one thing. If it could reabsorb twin, that's sentient. Okay, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Took over her mind. Okay, I got it. Gave her superhuman speed and strength and reflexes, and now she can walk backwards and spin and flip and murder a whole entire police precinct.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little over the top, but it's got some good scares and got some good gore and some good kills, and it's I think it unique, although it does tie into something else I watched. Tiny, but James Wan, and he's got a unique style of his own. And
was that a James Wan movie?
I think I liked it better. I think this is the second time I watched it, and I think the first time was when it was the Phenomena, and I kind of poo-pooed it a little bit, or maybe it was okay, but I liked it better this time.
Interesting, but still,
without the hype, and just going in knowing this is ridiculous, and let's just watch this ridiculous fucking movie, and it was good. Yeah, I liked it.
Right. I think it would pair well with Smile, like a double feature. For some reason, I've connected those two. I feel like they belong together.
Which I like Smile. I thought it was solid.
I kind of
there's a couple little effects that I'm like, that could be.
I didn't like the big white-faced monster thing in Smile. That took me out. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, ugh. But there were cool effects in it. Up next for me, I'll just continue with the movie that I couldn't find for like 30 years, along with No Telling. And I think I've told you about it. Slaughterhouse Rock, 1988. I remembered parts of this movie, and using those same kind of websites to try to figure out what the fuck it was, I would type in what I remembered, and every time it would come back, Nightmare on Elm Street. Are you thinking of Nightmare on Elm Street? Here's Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, fuck, no, it's not Nightmare on Elm Street. Can I rule this out? No, they don't have that. They don't have those kind of options. And it took years, and I randomly found it on Good Bad Flicks one day. I just clicked on a thing to watch, and it was that movie. And I'm like, holy shit. So Good Bad Flicks on YouTube is my fucking hero for that.
Was that a New Moon movie?
I don't think it is, but it could have been.
Okay.
It very well could have been. It's
Tony
kind
Basil?
of Tony Basil. It's kind of garbage tier, but not like video violence garbage tier. It's kind of like we had some money and still produced trash. But that's all I had to say. Since I watched No Telling, I was like, wow, I watched this movie I couldn't find for so long. I'm going to watch that other movie I couldn't find for so long. So I had my own kind of like really stupid double feature with these things. But that's really all I have to say about that. Slaughterhouse Rock. Cool name, though. I kept getting it confused with Slaughterhouse Rules.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I would type, like sometimes I'd have a flash of brilliance and be like, Slaughter something. Was that it? And I'd get the George Clooney, like, which I think was one of those movies that they shot with like no lights that I used to complain about a lot. Like those early slashers where it's like, we don't know lighting. It's too dark to see what we're shooting, so who fucking cares? But anyway, Slaughterhouse Rock, it's out there, it exists. And with Tony Basil as like this fucking thing. What's next for you?
Tony Basil, that's the best description for Tony Basil I've ever
this
heard.
Fucking thing.
He's this fucking thing. So tying into Malignant, it kind of led me here.
Not Smile.
I watched Not Smile. I watched another twin movie. This one not reabsorbed, but separated.
Oh, is it pronounced twin?
Basket Case. I watched Basket Case from 1982.
Okay.
Twin. Twin. Another twin.
Oh, twin.
I like Basket Case, and there's 3 of them. The second one I have definitely watched way more than 1 and 3. So going back to the OG was fun little trip.
I love the creature effects in Basket Case. They're so bad, but there's just something about it. There's just something about it that's good.
So many times the hand is just like it'll swipe across, and they kind of then you get a cut to an injury. But even when they just show like the hand that's clearly just like a rubber hand swiping across somebody's face. They lubed it up with Vaseline before they did that because they knew Chris would be watching this one day,
and he's
going to look for how moist the effects are.
That is my dream job. I think you're right. Like one day, if fate willing, I can be the guy on a movie set that walks around and is like, can we moisten up some of these effects? Effects are looking real dry.
The moisture guy. So yeah,
moisture inspector.
Oh, there you go. That sounds really important.
What do you do at work? I inspect the moisture. Greenhouse work? Flowers? No, not at all.
The special effect hydrator.
Oh. Well, they would be the people I give the orders to. Like,
okay, the special effect hydration master. Hydration master on all of the Full Moon Entertainment movies from 2025 to 2029.
If we ever make a movie, that's what we should do. We should do total like The Naked Gun did with like their credits, but do like shit like instead of like Waterboy, you do hydration provider instead of, just shit like that.
Yeah, church everything up.
Give everybody just like an amazing sounding thing. So speaking of Basket Case, I kind of have something which I've not really finished them. I've kind of used them as like, I'm turning this on, now I've fallen asleep for the night. And I talked about them during our little talk with with Dan Brusova a couple weeks ago. Roger Corman, Forbidden World, and Battle Beyond the Stars. These are in the 80s, but like that whole kind of era of kind of low budget sci-fi stuff from that period, I've randomly become kind of interested in. And oh Lord, Roger Corman, whoever he was getting to do these movies, to write them and direct them and all this, there is some sequences in Forbidden World that are straight like that. This is a lot of nudity.
I think it was all Roger Corman writing under various pseudonyms.
It may, God, I don't know that Battle from Beyond the Stars is that way, but Forbidden World, Lord, those ladies earned their paycheck just from the nudity alone. That's all I can say. Without sounding sexist.
And Roger Corman probably didn't even let them put their like a robe on between takes. He made them sit there exposed.
But that was that was the thing that I watched a behind the scenes thing. It may have been Good Bad Flicks, my favorite YouTube channel, who said one of the actresses, I think it was Forbidden World, didn't want to do her nude scenes. And so it was either Roger Corman or like one of his people was like, okay, then go get the ugliest prostitute you can find and say that she is going to be the body double, and then watch her agree to it. And I'm like, wow, that is scummy.
Is something you could only get away with in the 80s.
Yeah, like
probably the 90s, probably the 2000s. Okay, you can't do it anymore, but just like in the last couple of years.
You got to keep it super hush hush, or Elon will promote you on Twitter. He'll give you a free blue check mark.
Good Lord. Instant turn off.
That does it for my movies. I have a couple other things that I started and stopped that I think I'll save them. I think I'll save them for some other time if I'll actually try to finish them or start them or fucking something. I'm talking about Dead Ringers.
Oh, nice. Okay. I need to get back into, and then we'll have a discussion on this.
Yeah.
Jackie came to us one day. It was almost time to cut out and like go to bed, and we were sitting in the living room, and I turned the movie on, and Jackie's like, "Oh no!" I was like, "No, sit down. Truly, just give it a minute. Give it like 5 minutes." And I'm sure I've talked about me and Jackie have a thing with license plate.
Yeah.
And so it's dumb. It's the dumbest thing ever, but it's our father-daughter thing that we just into license plates and calling out unique license plates and also personalized license plates and forcing not personalized license plate, reading them as if they are personalized and trying to make them say something. And I said, that. just watch like 5 minutes of Jeepers Creepers. Watch and you'll see this license plate thing. I want to know what you think it says. Do you think the license plate says feeding you or be eating you? And
right.
And even on the RV before that, there's the question of, does the license plate say like sexy forever or gay forever? License plate stuff. And so we watched to that, and then we kept watching, and I told her, I was like, it's Justin Long, like this is maybe his first like being the final boy movie, and you got to watch this plus the psychic. I said, remember Good Luck Charlie, the TV show on I think it's Disney, but Mrs. Dabney, the annoying neighbor, I said, she's the fucking psychic in this, so you definitely want to see till you see Mrs. Dabney. I ended up noping out, and after, probably halfway through the movie, because it was bedtime, and my wife told me it was bedtime, so I didn't go to bed because she told me to. She just told me it was time, and I chose to go to bed when she told me to. But got up the next day and come home from work and asked Jackie how much she watched of it, and she watched it all, and she dug it. Like, she was in. And then she came to us the other day for movie recommendations, and we gave her some, and she's cringed at some. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to watch those old ones." And even today, she asked for specifically for zombie recommendations. I said Return of the Living Dead, forgetting that I had her watch Return of the Living Dead, and she said, "Is that the one where they nuke Louisville and the rain comes and they all come back again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, you did watch that."
You should have said, "You mean the true story where they nuked Louisville?"
Right. Little known. The mainstream media covered it up.
Yeah.
But I did tell her, so she may be watching at some point tonight or looking for Fido.
Oh yeah, Fido was rad.
Which is kind of, it's kind of terrible, but it's also kind of near to my heart for a couple of reasons.
Fido.
Yeah, there are some things that really make me laugh and feel warm and fuzzy inside during Fido. So I do like it, but Jeepers Creepers got a thumbs up from her, and I'm just gonna keep like mixing in old stuff here and there.
Has she watched
to kind of get her.
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead yet?
Yes, she has.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep.
And she's you're doing your best, right, to keep her from watching the Day of the Dead sequel and remake? Like, completely, like...
I have said that you should watch the original, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead trilogy before you go to anything like that. And I said, those are kind of bad. But I also said, like, Return of the Living Dead 2 and 3 are really bad, but they're really bad and I really like them.
And so. Susan Snyder is in part 2.
So,
just saying. It's... Me and her brother, I just randomly happened to be watching the original Dawn of the Dead one day when he was very little and he was over here, and he was enthralled. I don't think I'd ever seen him, not anything I had put on, but he was just like, and like, when the one guy gets bit, I forget names right now, but the one soldier, or he was a cop, right? Well, along with Will Forey's character, the guy when he got bit, he was
raid in the house.
Yeah, he got devastated. He's like, "Oh my god!"
Yep.
And it made me like Dawn of the Dead more watching it with him. I was like, you know what? You're right. This movie is fucking awesome. I didn't say that. He was too young for that, but in my head, I'm like, you're right.
Surprisingly, he's not big on the horror movies, so he's watched some when he was probably about 10. We made him watch Lost Boys. That's an easy. It's a good movie and it's an easy entry into horror.
Agreed.
So that's kind of a good one. I always suggest for young kids if they're interested and they need jumping off point.
Yep.
But he's not super into it. Although he was super into, mostly because he played the game, the Last of Us TV show. Like he drove down every week to watch it with us.
And there was. I'll save it because we may talk more about that show. I don't want
to. Easy can talk about that because there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. But any other movies or any other asides you want to talk about before we close the doors in the horror house for another week?
Yeah. I did go back and watched the Nick Cage Color Out of Space.
Oh, how.
And it just it is good. It is good. I enjoy it, and knowing what's coming did not diminish it in any way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's not, especially early. It's not your typical like Nick Cage performance.
Yeah. He grows into Nick Cage.
he becomes he ages into himself. And then I also watched, and I thought I had watched it before, but I don't think I ever made it through because it is not great. But I watched Eli.
Eli.
And it was pretty cool. Like, it had me going a couple times, and especially when I first started watching it, and I was like, "Oh, this better not be like a Jesus theme. Like, I don't have a problem with Jesus. You know, like, I know he's not coming on the show anytime soon, but I don't want to get any Jesus in my horror."
Right.
You know, I liked a lot of devil in my horror. I like very little Jesus in my horror. So I was afraid, but it actually turned out pretty good. And Sadie Sink is in it. I forgot that she was in it. Max from the Stranger Things Tales. Right. And so it was pretty good. And I have gone back, and I didn't get the third one yet, which is what, 18 whatever. But I watched the first two Fear Street trilogy movies again. And, yeah, I got to say that those are solid movies. I think
I need to watch.
There are some good kills in the supermarket in the first one, but top to bottom story wise, and maybe it's because the setting feels like horror to me, like nostalgic horror. But I think the second one might be my favorite one, where they're at the summer camp.
Plus, I mean, I don't know if they're based on R.L. Stine books or if they're just in that kind of world of R.L. Stine stuff. But God, I don't know that we talked about it on the show, but several months ago there was talk of editing his Goosebump books, which were big when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I think the Goosebumps were probably several years past your prime. Reading.
Yeah, I'm familiar with what they are. There's a Jack Black Goosebumps movie, which is aimed at a younger crowd. But
yeah, the books were fucking so cool as a kid, but I was such a shitty reader. Still am, but I loved them. And they probably contributed a lot to my horrorness growing up. But there was talk of editing and changing things for current times, and it's not like they were changing anything that was crazy, like no slut shaming or weird derogatory terms. It's not what they were. They were changing fat people to tall people. Like there was I think aliens were abducting fat people in this story, but they decided they were going to change it to tall people without R.L. Stine's like input or like agreeing to these edits. Uh-huh. I'm like, fuck, I better figure out how to get some copies of these. And so I may have procured some for my tablet. And fuck, they're so good. So I need to go check out the fucking Fear Street movies finally and quit putting it off because R.L. Stine's fucking
Have you not watched them?
I started to watch the first one like when it first came out and then come up with some kind of lame excuse and then just as they came out, I was like, well, I can't watch them because I've not watched the first one. And then it's a failure of my own making, as per usual.
I mean, I don't think they're anything groundbreaking.
Yeah, I wouldn't even expect, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they're solid. There is one story that runs through all three, and it does have some twists and turns. Mm-hmm. So I
like R.L. Stine.
I think they're solid.
I need to check them out. Anything else?
That is it for me.
All right. Then I think what we shall do, we're going to play a quick ad. No ads until now. Because we're that cool.
Damn, that's a value.
But we will come right back and then we will leave. We are back. Before we get out of here for another week, Dave, where can these fine people reach us if they want to talk to us?
If you've got something that you've been watching, you want to hear what we think, you just want to tell us. I mean, hey, we're happy to hear what you've been watching. If you want to suggest something for a future show or tell us what you thought or liked or disliked about a movie we reviewed or about our show, you can send us a direct message, or you can just tweet at us at Sweetness, one with 6 E's, or at Horror House 2, because there are 2 of us.
You can email us horrorhousepodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to the Horror House page on Facebook.
You can leave us a voicemail and we'll play you on the air by going to anchor.fm/Horror House.
And finally, like, share, favorite. I don't know that favorite's really a thing, but like us, share us. We're still pushing for them big listens on Spotify. And then it's just going to be smooth sailing. We're going to be having so many shows, not all the time, but weekly.
We'll be sailing on down to Kokomo.
We'll have the same output that we've always had, but just know.
But we'll know. There'll be a different vibe. You'll know.
Yeah. These guys aren't pissed off at Spotify.
You'll tune in one day and you'll be like, oh, that's some big dick energy. I bet they got, all the lessons.
Yeah. So until next time, stay tuned. We will be back in a week. Same cemetery, different grave.